That's madness. And what about, like, is there a big freeman movement or sovereignty movement going on in Australia now?
Well, look, there is, but it's very difficult for people to find their way through it. I mean, a lot of people are getting in a lot of trouble because they're going in wanting to attack the legal system. A lot of people do this. They get in, they go down these rabbit holes and they want ammunition so they can go in and take the judge on, go and stand in court and say, you've got no jurisdiction over me, rah, 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 I'm come here to tell you that. And the judge kind of looks at him and says, well, if I've got no jurisdiction over you, what are you doing in my court for a start? And I don't want to take the system on. For me, the system doesn't exist. It's fiction. The whole thing is fiction. There's only two types of law. That's God's law, which is trust law, and man's law, which is contract law. And people will go through and they'll say, common law, maritime admiralty law, whatever. As far as I'm concerned, it's all fiction. They're all contracts, all contract law. Anything created by man is contract law. And God's law is simple. Just do no harm. Do no harm to creation. Follow the one law of creation and serve creation, and that's it. Improve reality by your presence in it. If you do no harm to no other person or no other living thing, then how have you broken any law? And that's my approach to the whole system. If you people are claiming otherwise, well, don't you claim to base your system on the laws of God? According to the laws of God, if you look at Matthew 22, which is the whole basis of your legal system, they ask Christ, what is the one commandment? Christ says, love thy Lord God with all thy heart, all thy body, and all thy mind. And the second greatest commandment is to love thy neighbour as thyself. And I'll say, well, that's what I do. So if you're claiming that I have to deviate from that path, you're claiming to be a higher authority than God, and I need to see proof of claim because you base your legal system on the laws of God, apparently, so you tell us. So if you're asking me to break those two commandments, who are you people? You're telling me you base your legal system on the laws of God and that you're going to change His commandments. So how does this work? And they have no recourse. They have nowhere they can possibly go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. I have two commandments, if you want to call them that. And the two commandments are very simple, for me anyway. The first one is to believe in God or your perception of God, because people perceive God differently, so wherever you perceive God to be. And the second one is do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. Very simple. They're my two commandments.
Well, that's it. That's exactly what it says in Matthew 22. I mean, and that's the basis of their whole legal system. I'm not particularly religious at all. I mean, that's the beauty of God. God is an individual perspective, what you perceive your creator to be. God is different for everybody. But the thing is, I mean, whether you believe in God or not, you've got to understand that. I mean, I bring it up all the time because that is the basis of their legal system. That's what they use. And it's all stems around Matthew 22 and those two commandments. So if that's what they're going to use, well, that's fine. I'll use that too. And that trumps them. That's the trump card. They've got absolutely nowhere to go from there because they cannot establish jurisdiction over you if you stand in who and what you are. I've been in court and the judge has said, look, what's your name? And I'll say, man. And they'll get frustrated and they'll end up asking for my birth certificate. And the clerk of the court will hand the judge the birth certificate, and the judge just looked at it and read out my name and held it up and said, is this you? And I say, no, that's a piece of paper. I'm over here. I'm man. I'm not a piece of paper, And I've actually had situations where the judge is saying, look, you need a psychiatric evaluation. You say, well, hang on a minute. You've just questioned whether I'm man without consulting an anthropologist. You've just asked me if I represent myself, and obviously I am myself. And now you're asking me if I'm a piece of paper. And you're telling me that I need a psychiatric evaluation. You don't even appear to be able to speak English. And they've got nowhere to go. They've got nowhere they can go from there, you see.
See, having all this information is fantastic. And, to be able to go into court if that ever happens, because obviously what people are concerned about is the fact that, I don't know whether in your time, since you've been learning about this stuff, whether you've had issues with banks and mortgages and bills and credit card companies. Is that anything that you've dealt with?
Well, I don't have any credit cards. I don't have any mortgages. I don't even have a mobile phone. I've never gone down the plastic avenue. I've never, ever had plastic money. I've always paid for things in cash. If I've wanted something, I've saved up for it. I've just never participated in that system, so I've never had to deal with any of that sort of stuff, no.
Okay, so you're lucky that way. Because obviously, the thing is with courts now, a typical example is we did have a a sovereign person that we interviewed not so long ago, and the police arrested him, would you believe, because he was sitting on the grass in a public area. And he didn't attend, he got a fine or something, and he, or an invitation to go to court, he didn't attend. So they came along and picked him up. They had a warrant to pick him up, and they brought him into court, and he stood in court, and basically they sent him to jail for, I think he said 8 hours. That was Kevin. I remember in the interview.
Oh, Kevin, yeah.
Yeah, they sent him to jail for 8 hours. Now, obviously, if they, we can say one of the things that we're doing over here, and we're pretty much, we work a bit with TNS Radio. I'm sure you heard of Vin and Harry on TNS Radio. Probably have been on there. And there's the no contract return to sender, I don't know you, I don't recognize you sticker on these commercial documents that come through the post. Now we're going to have a property kind of tax that they're going to introduce now with the new budget over here on water charges. So not only are they fluoridating our water, killing us, they're going to ask us to pay for it. So my advice to people will be to get no contract return to sender and stick it in the post and send back. What would you recommend in that situation?
Yeah, I reckon that would work. No contract, return to sender, absolutely. We've found also you can write letters often to establish who actually has the jurisdiction as well. If you're having charges brought against you by the Crown, you can write a letter off and establish which Crown it is, because often you'll find it's not the woman, it's actually the Crown Corporation. But we've been sending off notices of understanding to the Attorney General. If you get a summons to go to court, they usually give you 21 days or something before you've got to appear in court. If you can send off to the head of the legal department in your country, I don't know who it would be in Ireland, but in Australia it's the Attorney General, and you set it off and say, well, look, I've got this birth certificate here, I've got this trust agreement, it appears to be a trust agreement, I believe I have my right to appoint myself as my own administrator in this account, and blah, blah, blah. Could you please correct me if I'm wrong? Send it off as affidavits, and you get all these letters back. They can't correct you because you're not wrong. You basically say, look, I've got this trust agreement here. I can see my parents are the grantor. I can see myself as the beneficiary, and I can see that it's signed by the Registrar of Birth, Deaths and Marriages, which indicates the government is the trustee. Could you please correct me if I'm wrong? Because seeing as how this trust agreement exists, I believe I have the right to appoint myself my own administrator. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If you don't correct me, it will be taken as acquiescence that this is what's going on here and that I'm able to do this. If I don't hear back from you, I mean, you send it off as an affidavit, you give them 10 days or something to respond, you get the receipt, you've got this letter that they've agreed with you because they didn't respond, you send off a certificate of default, and then you can lodge those documents with the court along with your summons. Here we go, this is the morning I'm supposed to appear, go to court, enter these documents into the court record. We have agreement of the parties that there is no jurisdiction in the matter. We've settled out of court. Thank you, but I won't be appearing. I mean, that's one way that the Dean goes about it, and I know other people here that have gone about it that way, and they've had success. So that's one way you can go about it. See, just not appearing, just not showing up, maybe, it may give them an excuse to be able to come around and arrest you. And the thing is, people always want to take on the police officers as well. And these guys don't know. They're not employed for their intelligence. If a police officer comes around to your house and wants to arrest you, I mean, I'll just go with them. I'll just say, well, look, are you going to get violent with me if I don't go? And they go, yes, we are. I go, okay, well, I'll go with you then, and I'll go with you. And I say, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, whatever. Give me the summons. I'll deal with it through the court. And then I'll deal with it administratively by sending in the correct documents and establishing whether they actually have any jurisdiction or not. So you can do it that way.
Okay, so I suppose that you're right. You can say, I mean, one of the things Bob Menard would say is that, he's a peaceful guy, there's no need for violence, and he is going under protest and duress. And, if they're going to take him away, they'll take him away. The same thing, if the police stop you and they ask for your name, and he said, do you want my legal or lawful name? And, the policeman, well, if they don't know the difference between legal and lawful, well, they shouldn't be stopping you in the first place, really.
Well, that's true as well. I mean, but police ask my name, and I'll say, my name's Man. And then they'll go through the whole thing, well, what's your actual name? I say, well, again, you're saying I'm not a man. But the first thing I'll say, as soon as the police comes and says anything to me, I'll usually say, I'm okay, mate. I don't need your assistance at the moment. And I go, no, excuse me, we want to talk to you or whatever, you know. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, excuse me, is there some controversy here that I'm involved in? I can't see that myself or my companions are involved in any controversy that would indicate we require the assistance of the police service at this time. I'll start asking them if they're public servants. And often they'll say to you these days, no, we're not. In Western Australia, I said to one of the police officers, are you a public servant? She said, no, I'm not. I'm a member of the Western Australian Police Department. I said, and you're not a public servant? Well, that would indicate to me that the West Australian Police Department is not then a department of government, but must be a private company. Is this true? And she walked away. Wouldn't answer. Because you can establish that they're not actually public servants anymore. And if they tell you they're not public servants, then you can ask them, are you then part of a company? Because if you're part of a company and you're attempting to have dealings with me, I need to see a contract that exists between myself and your company. If you are attempting to create a contract and get me to enter into a contractual agreement with you now, please clarify what this contract is. And it kind of freaks them out a little bit because many of them know about this now.
Okay, well, this is the thing. What we found, what's happened before, is that because the police are given 6 months training only and then they're sent out, they actually don't know the law or they're not told the law. So then what they do is, you know, if you start getting smart, they're trying to make it that you have a conflict with them, and then they'll have jurisdiction to pull you out of the car and put cuffs on you.
Yeah, well, they try to do that. That's why you've got to be nice to them. You can't argue with these guys. Like I said, they're not employed for their intelligence. If you get arrested or harassed by the police, you know, your objective is to get out of their company as quickly and painlessly as possible, and then you can deal with it through the court system, deal with it administratively. But I mean, I don't have much of a problem with police. They tend to leave me alone. When I was over in Western Australia, I was saying a lot of this sort of stuff to them, and there were people being arrested all around me, but they didn't actually arrest me. And a lot of people were wondering why, because I was being quite belligerent to these men, and they were just leaving me alone because I wasn't actually saying anything that they could use to arrest me. Everything I was saying was common sense, and I was simply asking questions. And if I made a statement, I'd back it up. Like I'd say, look, you know, this is terrorism. What you're doing to this woman is terrorism. And they kind of look at me, and then I'd give them the Oxford Dictionary definition of terrorism. So it's very important that you speak English when you're dealing with these people. When you go to court and everything like that, always make sure you're speaking English and not legalese. And let them know that you're speaking English. Like I said with the judge when he asked me if I was my birth certificate, and I said, no, that's a piece of paper. I'm over here. You know, you are speaking English, are you not? You've just asked me if I'm a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You know? So you've got to be, let them know that you're speaking English. That's the language that you're speaking. If they're putting other interpretations on the words, well, you don't understand them because you're speaking English and you're assuming that they are too.
And this is the understand and stand under situation where you don't stand under what they're saying.
Yeah, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, you'd never understand anything they're saying. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, how can I even understand? What does this mean? I'm taller than you. How can you possibly even stand on top of me? How could I be under you? You know?
Yeah.
Understand that you're speaking English, you know?
That's it. We find that what we've kind of said with the legal system is, you know, even the solicitors, they're all in the same golf club. So they have no interest in rocking the boat, even if they're on two different sides, plaintiffs and defendants. Even if they're on two different sides, they don't really like rocking the boat because they're all in the same golf club, and they'll only, you know, because they're part of the law society. And one thing that Bob Menard said, I have to say, which is quite good, is they say, well, when you're a part of a society, and he said, well, can you tell me the name of the society that we are part of? And they can't they wouldn't be able to give you a name.
No, well, they can't. That's the thing. But I mean, Rob Bernard is great. He really is. He's done a lot of really good work there. And, they won't ever be able to tell you the society that you're part of. But a lot of them do know and a lot of them don't know. But like I said, you can't really argue with a police officer. You just got to sort of, realize that they don't have any jurisdiction. A lot of them don't know it. But you just sort of go with it and then deal with it administratively. Don't get yourself in trouble with cops because they've got tasers, they like to use them, and some of them just, you know, they've got chips on their shoulders, and that's what they're employed to do. So don't try to take on police officers or get into arguments with police officers. They're just plebs out there doing what they're told, basically.
And also, Max, I know from being over in Australia many years ago that your police force carry guns where ours don't. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, we got guns and tasers, and I found it's always good to tell them not to get excited as well. They're always telling that to you.